Monet Williams. I am the chair of the International Awareness and Involvement Committee in the Atlanta Suburban Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We, along with our partner, the Empowerment Resource Center, welcome you to our final segment of our World AIDS Day virtual conference. We had an absolutely fantastic day where we learned a lot from Dr. Laura Collins, who shared a lot of pertinent information about COVID and its impact on our HIV community. We left very encouraged and informed. And then we had Facts versus Fiction, a conversation to bust the myths about HIV. We learned about the benefits of PrEP, why we should take it, and how accessible it is. So please spread the word about PrEP and bring your friends or 3 to get tested. If you missed any of it, you can catch the replays on the ERC or the ASAC Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Facebook page. Now, I hope that you are ready for a dynamic conversation. I'm really excited about what's going to happen. We're going to honor our HIV heroes, and this segment is going to be called Let's Rock the Ribbon Together. I would love to now acknowledge and introduce our moderator, Lisa Cunningham. She is a native of Atlanta and over the past 25 years has been actively involved in the film and television production community. In the branded digital arena, she thrives, having produced projects for McDonald's, W Hotels, the History Channel, and hundreds more. As an influencer, Lisa was selected by Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms to serve on the inaugural LGBTQ Advisory Board for the City of Atlanta. She was recently named one of the most influential LGBTQ plus Georgians. Her community involvement continues as a philanthropist who devotes time to several local charities focused on underserved minorities. Welcome, Lisa.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Monet, and thank you to the chapter for having this important day of information and fellowship. And, you know, today is World AIDS Day, and I am proud to be here tonight to honor some amazing individuals. You know, since 1988, each year on December 1st, we commemorate this day. And it's kind of like a time for us to step back, reflect, remember, but it's also a time for us to ask ourselves some hard questions, you know, like how have we grown in our worldwide response to the HIV/AIDS epidemic? The statistics are still staggering. Let's look at a couple. 1 in 9 women living with HIV are simply unaware that they have it. More than 56% of trans women are HIV positive. 1 in 48 Black women in the US will be diagnosed with HIV in her lifetime. These are current stats. And we also must remember that the millions that we have lost, their lives do not leave us in vain. It's been 4 decades, but it is a time to celebrate as well those who work tirelessly in the HIV/AIDS advocacy space. And I have 3 such people with me here today who we would like to honor and rock the ribbon with each of you. First up, I have Freda Griggs. Freda is a native of Atlanta. She's a graduate of Alabama State University, and she was diagnosed with HIV in 1996. So we can definitely say she is a survivor. She's a federal employee for 29 years who spends her extracurricular time on HIV advocacy with a focus on African-American women. She sits on the executive board of LOTUS, which is an acronym for Loving Ourselves Through Unity and Strength, and serves proudly as the secretary of the Metropolitan Atlanta HIV Health Services Ryan White Program Planning Council. I want to welcome you tonight, Freda. We honor you, we thank you, and we rock the ribbon with you. How are you tonight?
I am well. I consider it an honor to be able to participate in this panel. and be recognized by these two groups to be able to share my story.
You know, before you share your story, everybody's had to experience something that we've never had to experience this year, right? COVID-19. How have you been holding up just simply during COVID-19?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I suffered a stroke in March of this year. When I was admitted to the hospital, I had a subsequent COVID-19 test as a precaution, and my test came back positive. That was a shock. I wasn't expecting, I consider myself kind of healthy. Stroke was the last thing, and then a COVID-19 diagnosis was totally, I mean, of course we were just hearing about it. They were just shutting everything down. I had traveled for work, so I was getting nervous. There were a couple of people in my office building that had tested positive, and so I was worried. At the same time I was going through it, it was synonymous with my HIV diagnosis. At that time I was looking at them as two parallel things. It was something nobody wanted to get. People didn't know a whole lot about COVID-19, as was the case with HIV. So I've just lived these last 8 months, thankful, one, that I fully recovered from the stroke. And I was asymptomatic with COVID-19.
Look at God. Oh.
So I'm proud to be here. And again, my message has kind of been parallel. While I mask up and wash hands, I tell people to condom up and practice those same things. We recognize that COVID-19 is the pandemic that's got us doing some unprecedented things, but we still have HIV in the community that's still spreading. So my message has been dual for the last 8 months.
Freda, take me back. You know, I remember what I was doing in the 90s. I was cutting up pure food, right? And I remember the climate when it started in the late 80s, right? And we started to get wind of this thing, and we was like, and I actually was a little scared because back then, you know, I was a little reckless, I'll admit. And then you just brushed it off, most people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that caught us, you know, that caught a lot of people, you know, in the divide. Talk to me about your story, how you first learned of your diagnosis and what subsequently happened from there.
Well, like usual, I had always been a blood donor at work. And we would do it two or three times during the year. And I had done like I normally had done, but this time was a little different because I received a letter in the mail telling me that I needed to contact the American Red Cross. And I'm like, oh, you get a postcard saying thank you, but never a letter, contact us. And I'm saying, okay, what is this? Do I have diabetes? Do I have cancer? What? And ended up, and I never forget, it was the first day of the 1996 Olympics here in Atlanta. While we were all concerned, everybody was talking about the traffic and excited. The city was excited about the Olympics being here. I was making my way to the Atlanta Red Cross office. And I never forget getting there, anxious, wanting to know. I had just had my son a year prior. And I didn't know, but I thought an HIV test was something that may have been done during my pregnancy.
Okay.
So I entered the office. There was a lady sitting across the table from me. She asked me what seemed to be 100 questions. Some of them were the same questions. And I kept saying to her, why am I here?
Right.
And she explained to me, she pushed a paper forward. And she said, you know, you recently gave blood. And so we performed this test called the Western blot. And we performed that test on your blood sampling. And it came back with antibodies. So I'm still sitting there going, and okay, what?
Right, what's that mean for me, right?
And she said, you're HIV positive. And I promise you, you know, everybody kind of has their idea about what they would do if they were ever told that they were HIV positive. I didn't have any emotion. My immediate concern went to my 1-year-old son, because at that point I was like, oh goodness, okay, if I have this, then I need to contact his pediatrician. I need to get him tested. I wasn't thinking about me. at all. I left the office. Of course, they asked the pointed questions about your partners. I had only been with one person since high school. So I knew who it wasn't a mystery. My son was okay subsequently, and it probably was a year after my diagnosis that it hit me. It hit me hard. I didn't have any symptoms. I wasn't sick. I kind of avoided seeking any kind of medical attention, medicines, getting on treatment. I did because my concern was my son. And then I got into a mental thing. I think I was in depression. Matter of fact, I know I was in depression because I lived each day like I was going to die. I thought I was going to die. And I went through the trouble of establishing a will because, again, now I have an almost 2-year-old son. And oh my goodness, I have HIV, so I know I'm going to die. It's just when. Didn't know anything about it. Hadn't educated myself at all. So I did go to the doctor. I had a good medical team, thankful for great insurance. And I had a doctor that was just kind of on the cusp at Emory. I'll never forget her, Dr. Workowski. And so she was just new, wanting to try new things, new meds. At that time, AZT was the medication being given, and I took that for all of 2 weeks because I got very sick. And after that, wanted to participate in a lot of the trials, and I did. At one point, I think I was taking 12 pills a day and mixing something as part of the trial. Eventually, some years later, it was kind of good to know that I helped contribute to, because some of those medicines end up being approved and people were taking those medications. But again, I lived every day just caring for my son, doing my job, and that was it. Kind of held my diagnosis in, and just again, thinking that I was just going to die. I was just waiting to die, literally waiting to die. I put everything in place, just waiting to die. And I don't know, a light bulb went on. And I began to share my diagnosis with my close family and friends.
There we go.
I'm fortunate, having now been connected with a lot of great people who have been diagnosed. I'm thankful that I had the support system that I had. No one rejected me. My family embraced me. My friends embraced me. It was just, you need to do what you need to do to get in care. I was still hard-headed. I turned my focus on my career. Did not, after those trials were over, stop taking medication and just live. I raised my son, and here me thinking, okay, well, God's got me. I'm not sick. I'm not sick, so I'll be good. I'm good. I'm fine. It wasn't until this was around 98, 99. It wasn't until 2011 that I moved back home and I got pneumonia. That was the scariest thing that I have ever experienced. And it was at that point where I knew that my health was declining at that point, but I chose to ignore it. When I went to the hospital for pneumonia, I didn't know what that was. I never had pneumonia, but I couldn't breathe and had an infection in my esophagus. It was just awful. And I hadn't had any blood work, didn't know what my T-cell count was, didn't know anything. And I was shocked. The inevitable happened. The doctor said, well, technically you're classified as having AIDS at this point.
Wow.
And I was even doubly shocked because I was like, okay, now I was trying to process the HIV thing, but now you're telling me I have AIDS, which I now, know that it progresses. And so I'm thinking I'm at a point of no return, and I never, it was almost like I waited, my goodness, I waited too late. All these years I let go by, I felt so bad. And at that time, my son was now 16, 17 years old. And I spent almost 3 weeks in the hospital with pneumonia. And that was a wake-up call for me. I vowed from that point forward that if I get out of it healthy, that I was going to do what I needed to do to remain in care, take my medications. But of course, yet again, I took my meds for a little while and dropped off. Got pneumonia for a second time. And I'm just crazy. And every time I would go, to the doctor for whatever reason, or in the ER, they'd look at me like, are you what's wrong with you? You know, and I said, oh, I'm educated. I know, you know, yeah, but why aren't you? You have everything at your disposal, medication. Why aren't you taking it? And I had no reason. And at that point, I had to realize, okay, you got to grow up, girl. Get it together, because at this point, and with all the advancements, if you get sick, if you die, it's your fault.
Yeah.
It's your fault. There are people that are living that, you know, we're doing one pill now. You don't have to take 3 pills, 5 pills, 6, 10 pills. You can take one pill. And so I got it together, started taking my medication, got connected with a women's group, Lotus, that, you know, what was most important, it wasn't about shame, but I didn't know a whole lot of women that were HIV positive.
That's right.
But this group showed me that there are a lot of women, with the focus on African-American women, that the story was similar to mine. I wasn't a drug abuser, you know, I was educated and all of that, but I still managed to get HIV. I had to realize that I wasn't in control of my life, you know, and all the mistakes that I made. It's not about a blame game, because I played just as much a role in getting HIV as my partner did. So I had to grow up in all of it. And so I'm proud to be here today, healthy, undetectable, because at one point didn't think I would ever be undetectable with my CD4 count as low as it was, and having had pneumonia. I just had given up on the undetectable status, but yeah, I'm undetectable now, taking medication daily like I'm supposed to, being as healthy as I can be. And I live my life like an example for other women, other women who don't have a voice because of stigma. A lot of people won't come forward and won't get treatment, won't talk about it openly because of the stigma. So I try to live out loud with my diagnosis and say, hey, you can have a life, a full life. You can live and not just exist. So here I am today, and am as transparent as can be. Again, I'm just that example, and it's my passion. It's my purpose to reach women that are just like me, that are within the HIV/AIDS community, and help them feel empowered. You know, help us reach that next level, get our message out there, because we are a group. We're a big group. We're a big part of the HIV community.
Yeah.
We have a huge percentage of us are there. We're just silent, but there's power in our voices.
Well, we definitely honor you today, Ms. Freda, and I just appreciate that level of transparency, because you are speaking to that group of women right now. And no matter how people tune in live, this content always lives on. And when somebody needs a resource, when someone gets diagnosed, they may pull this video up. So that's just such a beautiful thing. And don't go anywhere, because we're going to keep sharing with you. All right. And but next I am going to bring up someone else, and it is Derinthia Williams. Derinthia began HIV advocacy in 2018. She provides education around HIV and AIDS to peers across Atlanta. She has experience in sexual health, harm reduction tips, and she is certified in HIV testing and counseling. Derinthia also is trained to be a mandated reporter for the state of Georgia. She can identify victims of emotional abuses, drug addiction, and domestic violence. Her hero moment is that she now has a nonprofit, Matter Over Mind, Chains for Change, Inc. And it creates safe spaces for battered youth and victims of abuse. She is proud to have helped create a policy brief for elected officials to change the HIV criminalization laws in Georgia. She was a 2019 ambassador for the Black AIDS Institute. And this year, Derinthia wrote her first book, HIV Doesn't Define Me, I Define It, Process to the Promise. Welcome, Derinthia. We honor you, we thank you, and we rock the ribbon with you.
Thank you, thank you. you. Jesus, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so what a way to introduce me, man. That was good. Thank
Take
you,
me on the road.
guys for.
Yeah, you can take me on the road with you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm first want to give honor to God, who allowed me to speak on you guys' platforms. Thank you, Delta Sigma Theta. Thank you, Empowerment Resources. I'm so grateful to be in this space with you guys. Also, as well, I just want to acknowledge the honorees on today too, as well. Thank y'all for for allowing me to share this platform with y'all too. So basically, I want to first just say this before any questions is asked. I never have been defined by HIV. Um, I never will be defined by HIV, and I won't let nobody define me by HIV. So yeah, okay.
Let's get that out.
That's all I can say. Let's just get that out the way. Yeah. Um, I'm gonna just kind of just give a little overview. 4 years old. My mom passed of AIDS. Mind you, I'm born with HIV, so I wasn't aware of what HIV was until I was like 16 years old. But I can get a little more into that. But yeah, so at the age of 4, I lost my mom due to complications of AIDS, and then eventually I had to live with other family members. I stayed with my grandmother. Didn't understand what HIV was still. I don't want to I don't want to like make it all sad and salty and whatnot, but I do want to tell y'all, like, I was pillow to post with dealing with HIV in itself. And at the age of 12, my grandma passed. I ended up living with somebody else, got abused and stuff like that. At the age of 16, let's get to the point, the nitty gritty. 16, I ran away from home. I eventually got really sick, and it was like 6 months into my pregnancy, I had my firstborn child, and his name is Demetrius. And the doctors told me, they was like, okay, you only got one time to live. They said, if you leave from this hospital, now, mind you, I'm running the streets. I'm talking about, and just for people to know what running the street was, doing drugs. I was selling drugs. I was gang banging. Yes, I'm that person. I was that person. But yeah, at the age of 16, I became really sick. My T cell drops to 2, to the number 2. And I'm talking about my whole entire world started shaking. I slipped into a stroke, and I had a stroke on the right side of my body where I couldn't move for 3 weeks straight. And the doctor was like, if you leave from this hospital, you're gonna die. I said, no. Look, let me tell you something. If I'm gonna leave from here, I'm going home to my family. You're not gonna keep me here. I'm not gonna die in no hospital with y'all. And eventually they let me, I signed myself out the hospital. Guess what? I'm here with y'all today.
Yes.
So, you know what I'm saying? I'm here with y'all today. Yeah. But yeah.
So we need stories. We need stories like this. We need this is an absolute testimony, a story of redemption. It's a whole, you got more story. Yeah, you got more stories in there than just this emotional, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Story, baby.
It is. It definitely so many more stories to this, but I don't want to get too in depth right here because I want them to go get the book.
Yeah, okay.
I want to go get that book so you can understand me a little bit better in this community. I know a lot of people know, like, they may know me or may not know me or may heard something about me, but if they don't get to know me personally, you would never know who Derinthia is, because I never been. HIV is just a part of my life. I defines it. So I keep telling people that all the time. Do not identify me as HIV. Last year I pulled back from HIV advocacy because it was too much. I do not want to be that little girl that, oh, she was born HIV positive. Oh, she's a vertical. No, I'm Derinthia. Like, first, I'm human. When that H come, it say human immunodeficiency virus. I'm a human first. So don't put HIV on me. Just call me Derinthia. I'm a servant. Like, it's so many stories. After my stroke, I got back on my feet, started taking my meds again, regimens. At such a young age, I didn't find out until I was like 16 years old. Like, I did not find out what HIV was because of the mental, physical, and emotional abuse in the home. The way my family was raised, the way my family raised me, they like, okay, I know she's different, but I'm still gonna treat her like she's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know she has HIV, but I'm gonna make sure she knows she have it, but we're gonna also treat her different. So that was just too much. It was too much. So I eventually, man, I got on my own. I started building myself. I started learning about HIV, and thank God for the advocacy world. Cause boy, I would have known nothing. I wouldn't have known nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. I don't want to waste too much time, but yeah.
Well, once again, you don't go anywhere either, because we are going to talk to you some more about your journey.
Okay.
But I want to bring up our next and final honoree for the night, Mr. Morris Anthony Singletary of Atlanta, Georgia, who is a Dillard University graduate, has worked from the classroom to the community, and after being diagnosed with HIV in 2006, his life drastically changed. In December of 2015, the co-founder of Thrive put Morris in a support group. And it wasn't until that moment when Morris was able to kind of regain his strength and get his life back. In December of 2016, Morris went on Facebook Live with the HIV and Me and quickly picked up love from all over the world. Today, you can find Morris sharing, teaching, preventing, and caring for anyone and everyone he comes into contact with. His vow is to be a lifelong peer educator. Welcome, Morris. We honor you, we thank you, and we rock the ribbon with you.
Wow. Thank you guys so much for this opportunities. So to the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, I am a Delta Gent. The Beta Gamma chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, located at 2601 Gentilly Boulevard, which is Dillard University, provided me that opportunity to become a Gent. And so this opportunity to share my story with you is full circle.
Yeah.
To be amongst Black women who save the world daily is something I take honor in. A little bit about my story. I just thought about this. I've been positive for 14 years, and I was diagnosed June 23rd at 3:15 p.m. And I only thought about this listening to the stories of these survivors that we're with right now. I started off taking 23 pills. I was that sick. I had cryptosporidia and giardia. I started learning a whole new vernacular, right? Now here I am, I'm an educated Black man. I'm my mother's only child. I'm the only grandson, oldest grandboy, and my father's only son. So you know what that means, right? I got to carry the family name. But how you doing? And I was making a pretty good piece of coin. So it wasn't very pressed about me not bringing somebody in, long as I can help pay some taxes on the land and do some other stuff and blah, blah. But when I got tested for HIV like Black men do, I did not want to go to the doctor. It was a Black woman who made me promise to go to the doctor. And I only promised her because I knew that love was real. And I now have a Black female doctor. So to the females who are on here, my story starts with you. My story continues with you. And I thank the Black women for lifting me up. There's so much to the story. When I got a little bit better, stopped loving myself. And I went through all the things that a Black man does. I'm not gonna ask for help. I'm a church boy. In certain circles, they say church queen. But I knew that I couldn't commit suicide because then you couldn't ask for forgiveness because you did. So that wasn't gonna do it. So I said, well, let me get on drugs. And if I do drugs long enough, then I'll die. Well, Lord, look at him. He keep on letting me live and have something to talk about. And so I'm thankful for the opportunity to continue to live. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to meet y'all because I have HIV, and I'm really honored because of this. But because I have it, let me go ahead and do what I'm supposed to do and what God has afforded me the opportunity, and that's to speak on how to live, win, and thrive with HIV.
Oh, wow. Morris, you are such an inspiration. And I'm hearing this common theme, and everybody is just you all were out here, you all were in denial, reckless, all sorts of things, but yet you're here now in the
Can I tell you?
space. Yes.
I had my this is back in the day when you had chat rooms. My screen name was Invincible, NVNCYBLE. As a Black man who went to college and graduated, and at that time I was making over $50,000 as a 29-year-old. All I had was success ahead of me, and so I was cute. I was chocolate. I'm in Atlanta, and I'm, how you doing? The world was mine. And
Yeah.
so I lived very reckless, and that's putting it lightly.
Wow.
And so I recognized my young Black men who love God
Okay.
and want God to still love them, because I was told that this was my punishment, or this was going to be my punishment. And so I lived that for a long time. Again, I've been positive for 14 years. Only for the last 4 years have I been doing it right.
Okay. Okay.
So again, I honor Derinthia and I honor Freda because they doing it. And so, yeah.
I want now to just kind of, we're gonna just talk here. We fired. They call this the fireside chat portion of things here, and we'll even open it up for some questions a little bit later. So feel free, anybody who is tuning in, to put your questions in the chat so that we can we can get those answered for you. But Derinthia, take me back to when, did you have an aha moment? Was it like a strong kind of situation where it's like, the heavens opened up? Because you had a lot going on, girl.
I definitely did. No, it wasn't. It was the aha moment. It definitely was. But I don't think I want to talk about that because some of my family members are actually chiming in right now.
Sure.
So, but that aha moment was because of abuse. It wasn't because of HIV. So that aha moment, once I found out certain things that my family was keeping from me,
Okay.
then it was just like, oh, okay. But y'all won't even tell me about HIV, but y'all will keep that from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to say it like that, so it can just kind of smooth over. Yeah, that was an aha moment at the age of 16. Like, I ran away. I had to. I had to figure me out when nobody else giving me. And once I found out who I was, it wasn't 16 though. It wasn't 16. I had to go through some trying times before I found out.
Who was the first person that extended something to you to start reeling you in then?
Before or after?
After.
I ran. After.
Yeah,
so,
after you ran away, who was the person who kind of helped transition you to kind of getting your head on track?
So it was. It was nobody but God. I swear, I cannot even lie. Like, round about 18, that's when I started clicking in. Like, it's time to wake up. You got to take care of a child now. Like, then I got 2 other kids now, but you have to take care of a child. And yep. I finally got into church and started taking care of myself better. To be honest, I did.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
we keep hearing about that theme. I know right now you're spreading your message in a lot of different ways, and I heard that you do a lot of it on social media. So that's interesting that you're using a platform that, it could be used. I always tell people that it could be used for good or evil.
That's true. That's definitely true.
Do people reach out for you? Do people slide into your DMs from like, an advocacy standpoint, not just to, try to get a date or something?
Definitely. They do that they don't do dating because they know I'm married. So they definitely talk to me about advocacy. And got a mentor today. Somebody texted me this earlier today and was like, can you tell me something about reproductive health? And I was just like, yeah. And she's in Ghana. And I was just like, yeah,
Wow.
I can send it. Yeah, I can send you some information over it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Freda, talk to me a little bit about that divide that seems to be the disconnect between the LGBTQ HIV space and our cisgendered space. And so are the support groups separate? Like what, how is all of that handled? And do you feel as though there needs to be more synergy? Tell me a bit about that.
So, and it's good that you asked that question, because the women's group that I'm in, I think we had a situation where we had to kind of clearly define that our group is for cisgender.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us have a problem with the term cisgender.
Okay.
We've had a conversation, and so some women feel like, well, I'm just a woman. Why do I have to be named something else? Right. And out of all the things, here we are, this group of African American women, not limited to, but the majority are there, where we aren't kind of in the forefront. We're just burgeoning. Let us have our own thing. We can create a space where we can cross paths and work together in the community. As a matter of fact, my group is a sister group to Thrive. Lotus is a sister group to Thrive. So and we do kind of work collectively. But then there are some things that just cater to women. Yes. Cisgendered women that may not necessarily affect someone that may be transgendered. I don't think it's we don't mean to, exclude you in a negative way, but honor our space. Mm-hmm. Give us this space, because while we are a large number, and a lot of us still have a problem with coming forward and being, upfront about our diagnosis, we're just scratching the surface. So allow us the space and time, create a space where we're comfortable. Because a lot of people, and I'm sure Derinthia knows, a lot of people come from kind of adverse backgrounds. And so they suffer abuse and some different things going on. So their privacy is very important to them. And right. So that's what Lotus does. Lotus kind of creates a safe space. And for right now, we're just getting you to terms with talking about your diagnosis. So we don't want to, turn you back inward by inviting other people. Again, not a negative thing, not a bad thing. It's just honor our space. And if we have to, let's just create other spaces where transgender women or whomever can be a part of it. But honor this space as we, we're birthing it. Yes. So maybe 5 years from now, sure. But right now it's so delicate to me. I think just based on the women that I know in the group and the situations that have occurred, it's sensitive, it's very delicate. So we have strong opinions about it, but.
And that's why I asked that question, because once again, this program lives on, right? Mm-hmm. And so we might have a woman who wants to reach out, sure. And we want her to feel safe, sure. And invited and not, have, these kind of mental barriers. So I'm glad to know that. And I know that it's not an exclusive thing. It's just, you all are leaning into each other in your own kind of, common space.
Right.
Mr. Morris, I heard you talking before we got online. We were chit-chatting about what I feel like is probably a very hot button issue. I know it's a hot button issue here in Atlanta. Let's talk about people living with HIV and housing. And I'm particularly thinking about it right now because, as y'all know, this is the first cold day in Atlanta, Georgia,
yes.
of the year. I walked outside. I was like, wait a minute. When did this happen? Okay. And then I'm able to come into, my, lush, space. And then you just have to think about those who can't and do not have the opportunity to do that. Morris, talk to me about and this is not a singular issue to Atlanta, Georgia. This is a national crisis, probably. Talk to me a little bit about that with regards to some of the issues with our community and housing.
Thank you so much for that question. I feel like a contestant on the pageant. Thank you so much for that question. World peace. So here's the deal. No matter what's going on in my life, I always have somewhere to go home. If nothing else, get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and lay my head down. I can put all the rest of the cares of the world behind me. Now, what if I go home and I still got hell? I can still lay my head down and hopefully at least catch a cat nap before I gotta fight somebody. But imagine not being able to eat, not being able to lay your head down. Oh, and by the way, you have diabetes, HIV, hypertension. In Atlanta, you know, we have more Black gay men, or more, our LGBTQIA spectrum is big. And so people come here. They come in groves. Labor Day weekend and MLK weekend, these babies, and I call them babies because I'm 43, and I'm sure I'm a baby to somebody, but these babies come without a plan, a pot, and can't do nothing with it. And so they do strange things to lay their head down, which leads to them getting HIV. When they stop doing these strange things, then they're back outside. Now imagine this. Because I now have HIV, but I know I got good stuff, I'm going to sleep with somebody else. So I'm going to sleep with somebody else so that I can get to lay my head down somewhere. Or if I know that you need somewhere, I'm going to prey on you. I'm going to be a predator.
Ooh.
Now, this child, this baby, this or adult has not been to their healthcare provider. All they try to do is lay their head down. So those are just a few of the scenarios that I hear. I am blessed to be from Atlanta, so my mama live here.
Okay.
Push come to shove, hell come to the high waters, or the high waters come to hell. I can go to my mama house and lay my head down, get some macaroni and cheese, yellow rice, chicken, and collard greens. Listen, I'm not in need. But for the person who called me last night and said, Morris, where can I go for emergency housing? I said, baby, you're calling me at 8 o'clock. It's too late. And there is nothing that I can do. This person has HIV. This person probably hasn't eaten all day because they worked a job that they've had to work just to make ends meet because they ain't meeting. All of these things. And my mama always told me, before people know what you know, they want to know that you care. And so housing is important to me because I care about where you lay your head tonight. I've pissed some people off. I've helped some people out. And today where we are with housing in Atlanta for people that's living with HIV is it was a crisis and now it's just bad.
Right, okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We're going in the right direction, but it still ain't good.
Yeah.
It's like going to McDonald's and having sweet tea and it just got a little bit of sugar.
Yeah.
It's better than having no sugar, but it still ain't good. And so it's a nationwide problem, as you said. Dallas has it, Houston has it. New York don't have it because they're doing it right. There's a program called HOPWA, Housing Opportunities of People Living with HIV and AIDS. And where we are is in a crazy, a funny kind of place. In Atlanta, again, it was a crisis and now it's bad. And so hopefully it goes from bad to being just okay. I'll settle for that because that means we're housing more people. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And for people who are looking at this, who may be homeowners, let me tell you how you can get a part of this.
Okay.
You have a home that nobody's living in. HOPWA is guaranteed government money. This means that you will get it. Now, I also want to say this, and I said this when we did this. I also want to speak to my people who are HIV positive.
Okay.
If you get the opportunity to get housing, don't mess it up.
Right.
Do you know someone would kill to be in your place? And I do mean kill. Yeah. There are people who just want a space on a floor and don't have it. They're carrying everything they have in a suitcase to go sleep in a shelter, and they have to be there at 4:30 only to get kicked out at 6:30 a.m. And so housing is very important. Again, there are people who will not take their medicines because they don't have anything to eat. Now, like me, I can't take no pill by itself. I ain't never been able to take no pill. It took me 6 hours to take an Advil when I was 16. And so now when I take my medicines every day, I have to take it with food. I had Burger King today.
Right.
You know, how do we expect for somebody to take their medicine if they don't have anything to eat?
Well, you know what? You just brought up a buzzword for me. And Freda, I want to talk to you about that because I was introduced to the word PrEP about 5 years ago. And my sister's a pharmacologist. I asked her about it. I said, why is everybody, because we live in Atlanta, so I knew what was going on with Black women in Atlanta. I said, why are they only talking to white gay men about this miracle drug? It ain't even made it to the Black community yet. What are they doing? And there's a whole nother topic that I would like to talk about for just a minute with regards to clinical trials, because, okay, I work with an organization called the Black Women's Health Imperative, and they stress the importance of us being a part of clinical trials because we get it. We know what happened in the past. We get the whole Tuskegee. We get all the different things that have happened in the past. But if Black people do not start participating in clinical trials, the medications that we take aren't even going to work properly. And so it also probably makes the manufacturers a little gun shy about giving us stuff first, okay? Because we don't even know if it's going to work for us because we were only 0.2% of the clinical trials. So I just had to throw that out there. But Freda, talk to me about how you feel this information about PrEP, and tell people what PrEP is, and that it is not something, it's something that cisgendered, and that means for you can explain what cisgender means as well. But tell them a little bit about PrEP.
So PrEP is pre-exposure prophylaxis. It's a pill that someone who does not have HIV can take to prevent from getting HIV. I'm reminded of Morris commercials that he puts out that talks about if you are out being promiscuous, you need to take PrEP. That kind of keeps and protects you and whoever you decide to be out with. I also want to talk about PEP. PEP is post-exposure. So if you feel like you've had a wild night and you may have been exposed, then there's a pill that you take for after. It's funny, I'm single, and so a lot of times I get those inbox messages, and I always use it as a teachable moment, especially if it's someone whose thought process is just focused on one thing. And I share that, but it's amazing to me how many people that I talk to who are unaware of PrEP and PEP. I'm thankful to see the commercials as of late within this year, and I guess we pay more attention now because we're in a pandemic and we're forced to kind of be still somewhat, that the pharmaceutical companies are really trying to put the information out there. And just even having participated in trials, know the importance of trials, because I saw that come full circle. I saw me not knowing, and mixing and more than pestle medicine, but it was something to see that medicine actually on the market. And I was like, wow, my input had something to do with this drug being approved. So I implore, and I think there are certain programs where you can get it for free. You can ask your physician about PrEP. It's something that kind of will help us control the spread of HIV. Again, it's pre-exposure prophylaxis. So it's a pill that you take daily, just like how I take my HIV medication daily to maintain my virus. PrEP keeps you from getting the virus. It's a pill that you take daily. And then again, the PEP is the one that you take if you feel like you've been exposed and you take it. Again, just consult your doctor about it, but it's something that's out there. It's something that should be talked about more, because I feel like it's it's that secret, that thing that probably would help us more. And again, in the African-American community, it's not as, it's still hush. HIV and AIDS is taboo still within our community. As and it's just, again, like I said, I've lived this year, you know, paralleling COVID-19 to HIV, and we're more apt to talk about COVID-19, but HIV is still here. So I wish, and my hope, and one of the reasons why I do the work, is to get us talking more freely about it. And so if we do that, then more of us will know about PrEP and PEP. More of us will understand that, yeah, and it's still people that believe if I touch you,
Right.
you're going to get HIV. As you know, crazy as it may seem, a lot of people are uneducated about HIV/AIDS, and again, the stigma, the silence is what continues to allow it to spread. So PrEP and PEP, I think it's our friend. Don't be afraid of it. We take all other kind of medications. This is one that can stop, you know, a deadly virus.
I want to give a resource here since you did mention some myths. The organization that I just spoke about, the Black Women's Health Imperative, has a program called On Our Own Terms. You can go to the site oot.bwhi.org. We can put that in the chat, but you can download this HIV prevention guide. It's really for people in the advocacy space as a training guide. It's very robust. It's probably, you know, 20, 30 pages. But I say the layperson should just download it. I mean, I've learned so much, you know, by having that one document. It's so comprehensive. And so, because we got to start dispelling some of these myths. I mean, come on, it's been 40 plus years. This is, at this point, right, it's silly for us to still think some of the things that we do. But let me piggyback one more thing with you too, Freda, about why do you think the number then is still rising with Black, and this is a question that we just got through the chat. Why is the number of cases with African-American women still rising? It's Anna.
Yeah, I can just lend personal experience.
Okay.
I trusted the person that I was with, just totally trusted him. Didn't feel like I needed to take responsibility for my own actions in terms of sexual intercourse. I trusted him, felt like I was his only one, and you know, what a lesson. A lot of women don't feel empowered enough. You know, the story, as bad as it will be, you know, he says that the condom, you know, he can't feel nothing with the condom, or the condom hurts. Well, listen, you rather it hurt than get something. I try to prevent people to get what I have. I don't want you to go through what I've gone through. So you have to kind of feel empowered about your sexual experiences with your mate. Have a conversation, even with married women. I've had conversations with married women. I've asked close friends that are married couples, have they considered getting tested? And they feel like they shouldn't because, well, my husband is not that, or my wife is not that. But there are couples, married couples, where the wife or the husband test positive. And so where, you know, you can't put your health, the responsibility of your health in someone else's hand. Yeah. And I think about all of and I don't mean to stereotype, but you got a lot of men that come out of the prison system. You got a lot of men that choose to have various lifestyles. And again, we as women aren't asking the questions or putting our foot down, you know, saying, hey, let's go get a test before we do anything, before we move forward in a relationship. Let's go have an HIV test. It's always get tested. If you get tested, that can help a whole lot, but they turn the blind eye. And I don't know what that is because, well, he may not like me because I asked him to get an HIV test. Well, okay, so what? It's that, you know, life or death. Yeah. You know, so I don't think we as women are asking the right questions or putting our foot down as far as feeling empowered about our own sexuality, being responsible, you know, for saying, hey, no glove, no love. And being honest, you know, and then, you know, for those who don't know, because there's a percentage of people that are walking around with HIV and they don't know, get tested. Yeah, it's easy. It's easy, but we don't ask the right questions. And again, the stigma associated with it and the taboo-ness of when you mention HIV, you know.
I just saw another question come through the chat. Derinthia, what is it going to take for us to get rid of the stigma? Is it more of this? Is it more of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority incorporated having events like this? Because that's really one of the reasons why I wanted to be here today. Because a lot of times, and you know this, Morris, you know this, Freda, you know this, Derinthia, we preach to the choir. We preach to the choir. There's people that are only in the advocacy space, right? And we're talking to each other. I talk about that a lot. I see Twitter chats that organizations want to have with us. And I'm like, here we go, talking to each other. That's all we're doing. So today we know for a fact we are not talking to each other, right? You all are not talking to each other. You all are extending yourselves to another community that needs to hear this information, not just because they may be able to, they may be able to relate to you, Freda, but also because they may want to get on the ally side of this thing. Learn that word, Black women, allies. Everything doesn't have to be the cause that you're personally affected by, because you can stand in the gap for people who are going through a myriad of experiences. And this is one of the heaviest ones that our Atlanta community suffers from. And we just don't simply talk about it. But Derinthia, what's it gonna take? What do you think?
That thing is none void, man. I'm sitting up here looking at the chat box on Facebook, and I'm seeing so many. I mean, seeing comments of like they didn't know about PrEP. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not doing our job well enough. Like you said, we're doing it inside of the community. And I go home, like I literally go home. My husband, my kids, my brothers, my cousins, they know about it.
There we
It's
go.
up to them to use it. You know what I'm saying? It's up to them to use it. Morris, you said something really good. Like, take it home. Like, that's the problem. Y'all trying to feed somebody already been fed.
Right.
Yep.
Take it to somebody else and give them some food. They don't ate enough of that. Like, that's how I felt last year. Like, I don't ate enough of that. Let me give somebody else something else. Like, because even with Morris, even with you talking about the homelessness with HIV, like I was homeless for a whole year almost last year because the housing situation.
Wow.
Nobody would put me in housing, which is funny. That's why I wanted to bring that back up. But I'll catch up with that one in a minute. But with this PrEP, man, y'all got to get on it. Y'all make it hard for us. You know what I'm saying? We getting criminalized for stuff that because we didn't tell loud status. We get criminalized for that. What about you taking care of yourself? You know what I'm saying? What about you going like Freda said, what about you going to the hospital? Let's go get tested together. That's the problem. Y'all folks need to wake up. That's the problem. Wake up, bro. Wake up. I've been living with this thing for 29 years. I just turned 29 this year. Just turned 29. And I'm tired, bro. I'm tired of seeing so many cases on the rise. We talking about, yeah, we in a pandemic, but we also still have epidemics that needs to be dismantled.
Give me some. I'm gonna let Morris give me some final thoughts here. Boy, we white to the wire. We got 50 seconds. Give me your best bars, Morris. What you got?
So here's the thing about Atlanta, and I want to speak to my Atlanta community especially. Atlanta is a sexual city where you come visit. When you come to live here, it gets a little bit worse. After 5 o'clock, hide your kids and hide your wives.
Mm.
After 9 o'clock, baby, you better be ready to get it on. And here's the thing with Atlanta. People don't like people like condomless sex. This is going to lead back to PrEP and PEP. I'm not mad at how you have your sex. If you want to swing from chandeliers or monkeys, get it how you get it, okay? But I also want you to be informed and have sex that protects yourself, but more importantly, have honest sex. Now listen, I'm still a little bit cute and I'm still a little bit whatever, and so I get the inbox messages, right? And if there's any sexual tension, I want you to know in the first 72 hours, boo, I'm interested, but here's the deal. I'm living with HIV. I'm undetectable, which means I can't give it to you, but I don't know what you can give to me because it's other sexually transmitted diseases and infections. I done had a syphilis shot. I round up them twice, and I'm not in for getting that penicillin in my booty no more. Like, that thing hurt. And so what I want you to know is that you can do what you do, but do it honestly. Because what I've learned in having HIV for 14 years is people still want to do it the way they want to do it. And so I don't want to sit up here and sugarcoat like you're not going to do it no more, because you are.
Thank you. Woo! Well, you all have been amazing with all of these different stories from all of these different unique perspectives. This is just, it has been an honor for me to honor you. And we got to keep this conversation going. Make sure that you all, let people know how we can reach you on your social media so that they can follow you. I'll start off. I am CAPT Cunningham on Twitter, Instagram. Tell me, Morris, what you got?
Positive to Positive. That's POZITIVE. The number 2, POSITIVE. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
There we go. Freda.
I am just simply Freda Griggs, FREDA GRIGGS on both Facebook and Instagram. I am available for any questions, conversations, whatever. It's going to take these honest conversations to get people. And I always say, if you aren't infected, you're affected. I think a lot of people feel like they aren't responsible, but you don't have to have HIV not to be responsible.
Thank you
for HIV.
Derinthia, what you got?
Facebook, Derinthia Johnson, as y'all see it at the bottom of the screen. IG, matter_over_mind1. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Delta Sigma Theta. Thank you to our sponsors. I mean, this has been wonderful. And let's keep it going. Let's keep the love and light. And let's keep getting this information out there.
Thank you all so much again. I am LaShandra Little, and I serve as the president of the Atlanta Suburban Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And today has been a wonderful day. This was our first time putting on this. It's what we will call an inaugural virtual World AIDS Day conference. And so we started this morning, and we've heard from the medical professionals all the way down to you all, our heroes who are fighting and living this journey with everyone right now. And so the information that has been shared today, I've learned a lot. I've been an ally for years and grew up with an uncle who actually had AIDS. And so I've been around it for a while, but I still was able to learn some things today. And so I'm happy for learning that information. I know I'll be able to share some more information with my family members, as well as with those who are within my circle of influence. Thank you to our International Awareness Committee who's been working tirelessly to put this on, as well as our partners with the Empowerment Resource Center. We're going to make sure that the full virtual conference is available. Right now, you can find all of the videos on the Facebook page of the Empowerment RC. So they're at Empowerment RC, and then as well as our Facebook page, which is ASAC DST, ASAC DST. And then we're also going to make sure we upload these videos to our YouTube page as well, so to make it a little bit easier to share. And our YouTube pages, everything's DST. So you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all at ASC DST, and we'll make sure we share these videos. This has definitely been a wonderful day for me, as I had to pitch it for our technology team. So I was here all day with you all, making sure everything ran smoothly. So I want to thank our panelists again for taking your time to come out and really give us that wisdom that we needed tonight, for especially living in a city like Atlanta. One of the most powerful things I think was said today by Ms. Griggs was, we are responsible for our own health. We can trust anyone all we want to, but it's to us to be responsible to make sure that we're healthy and we're doing what we need to do to take care of ourselves. And so I hope that resonated with everyone that was watching. I do hope that once these videos are posted, you will share within your network and share everything you learned. I pray that everyone has a great night, and I thank everyone again for joining us for this amazing inaugural Virtual World AIDS Day conference. So thank you all so much and have a great night.